Welcome back to part 4 of our lecture. I want to thank you real fast for hanging in there with me. I know these lectures are a little bit on the longer side. There is quite a bit of material to get through, and we are going to probably have 5 parts today. So I apologize for that as well, but you're doing great. So hang in there with me. We're going to talk about gender typing. Gender typing is the idea of what refers to the association of objects, activities, roles, and traits with one sex or the other in ways that conform with cultural stereotypes. And for children, they really understand this idea of a gender stereotype with toys at the age of 12 months. So, really understanding already what is a girl toy versus what is a boy toy. They also begin to get gender vocabulary around 2 years of age, things like man, woman, lady, girl, guy. Around, then they start getting toys, clothing, games, occupations, and colors all get associated with genders in preschool. And that's why we have to be so cognizant of making sure we have equal representation and have gender neutral items in our classrooms. And around the idea of 3 and 4, around that age group, they don't become guidelines anymore. They become very set rules for them. This understanding that if they are a boy, in their minds, they're not supposed to do certain things based on these stereotypes. These are influenced by 2 factors. First is biological. There are some biological influences that impact it. Evolutionarily speaking, men are more competitive and women are more cooperative. We also know that there's a role in testosterone. When there's more testosterone, there's an increase in active play and physical aggression. And we know androgens also have more masculine behaviors associated with them. We see that in scientific research when we actually give animals these hormones. They tend to be a little bit more masculine in the sense of being more aggressive. Environmental influences also play an impact, thinking about what families' expectations are and their activities they're engaging in based on the gender they have. Teachers play a role. So if teachers are using language around all the girls over here, all the boys over there, or wow, that's such a pretty dress for a girl, peers can play a role as well, understanding that they tend to play more with the gender they identify with. So if they identify as a girl, they're more likely to play with girls. And this creates this in-group favoritism. They're more likely to want to be around the same gender. We also see a lot of modeling around behaviors with gender in the media and the expectations of what we expect from what we would qualify as a boy or versus a girl. I wanted to walk you through real quickly the gender identity and role development, the gender schema theory. What happens is that typically you have 2 types of children, one that is really involved in the gender schematic theory or the gender schematic, and one that is more aschematic or not involved in thinking about gender at all. We think about wearing a dress, for example. If you have a child that is very involved in a gender schematic thinking, they're going to think through the process of, does a dress fit my gender? And if they are a boy, they're going to think, oh, I can't wear this. It doesn't fit my gender, because they have that mindset of thinking through the gender lens. Now, you can have the same situation happen with a child who is aschematic or not thinking about gender. So they could see a dress and think, I want to wear that dress. And because they're not thinking through the lens of gender, they'll think, do I like the dress? And they'll say, yeah, I like the dress. So even though it might be somebody who is a boy or is going to identify as a boy, if they're not thinking through that gender schema theory or that lens, they're going to think more about whether or not they like it. Okay. All right, I just wanted to touch base with you on kind of how prevalent gender is in our society and how much it shows up. This is actually a Disney short or a Pixar short called Pearl. It's where she actually is a ball of yarn, but because our gender stereotypes are so ingrained in our society, we can tell that she is meant to represent a girl in this office space. It doesn't have to be a girl, but because we associate pink, we associate softer facial expressions, more emotional expressions. When we watch this film, we can tell that the intention is that she was supposed to be a girl existing in a quote unquote man's world or a man's workplace environment. I'm just going to play maybe a minute of it for you here if it will load. And you'll get the idea. Here we go. I'm going to fast forward a little bit so you can see all these very typical aggressive men behaviors.
It's entry level, but your resume was by far the strongest. I'm sure you'll fit right in.
Thanks! I still think it's unbelievable that I'm really...
So if we even look at this just short little clip and where I paused it at, obviously it's not a biological girl in this picture. It is a ball of yarn, but we know that the intention is to represent a female because we have all these gender stereotypes. It's a pink ball of yarn. She has very happy facial characteristics. And even if we look in her box, the things that she's carrying, she has a flower, she has a pink cup, she has knitting needles or crocheting. I'm not sure which one. But either way, these are all things that we very much associate with being a gender in our society. So even though it's not explicitly saying girls do these things, it is so ingrained in our society. We can look at a ball of yarn and understand that that is the intention. And that is what children are able to do at this age range as well. Whoop, where did it go? All right, with that, that is gender stereotyping. This is a little bit shorter of a lecture, or gender typing, I should say. We're going to come back and do one more quick lecture around parenting, and then you will be done with lecture. Again, thank you so much for hanging in there with me. If there are any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'll see you in the next lecture.